K-movie, K-food, and even K-beauty. Korean cultural content is gaining more and more fans worldwide. It's indeed the golden age of K-culture. But with this growing interest comes an increase in misinformation about Korea. There's so much inaccurate information out there. Even AI can sometimes get it wrong. So, we must set things straight and correct all the misinformation. So here's the plan. The Voluntary Agency Network of Korea, VANK, and Arirang TV present the Get Korea Right project. Our goal is to provide accurate information on important keywords that come to mind when we think of Korea. Blatant errors and false claims that distort history. It's time to set the record straight, sharing the true history and culture of Korea while raising the national brand. Let's get started with Get Korea Right. Are you ready to join?
Introducing Korean broadcast content that you won't be able to stop watching. For weary modern souls, Dr. Romantic, the quirky genius doctor of Puldam Hospital, prescribes heartwarming tales of humanity. A couple together for 7 years sees their rose-tinted glasses shatter. Can they keep their relationship alive? Discover the raw stories of youth, work, and love. Beyond what social media can show, experience the vibrant Korea through its hidden gems. Mama, the ultimate K-pop festival for global fans. Find your star in a feast of trendy music and electrifying performances. Now, the whole world enjoys it together.
luncheon between President Lee Jae-myung and main political parties at the Blue House has been canceled after PPP leader Jang Dong-hyuk said he would boycott the lunch, citing opposition from several PPP Supreme Council members. The U.S. labor market saw an unexpected boost in January, adding about 130,000 jobs last month, according to its latest jobs report. But an annual update showed that hiring last year was even weaker than initially reported. South Korean teenage snowboarders Choi Ga-eun and Lee Chae-eun are eyeing medals after both securing spots in the halfpipe finals at the Milano Cortina Olympics. Hello and welcome to our noon edition of Arirang News. A presidential luncheon for the leaders of South Korea's main political parties has been canceled amid a boycott from the main opposition party. Presidential Chief of Staff Kang Won-sik said Wednesday that the president invited Democratic Party Chairman Chung Cheong-rae and the People Power Party's Jang Dong-hyuk to discuss bipartisan cooperation aimed at improving people's livelihoods and ensuring stable governance. Following an announcement from Chang this morning that he will not be attending the luncheon, citing opposition from several PPP Supreme Council members, the DP said the luncheon has been canceled. The Blue House also expressed deep regret over the cancellation in a briefing from Hong Ik-pyo, Senior Secretary for Political Affairs, to the president. There was no fixed agenda, but talks were likely to have covered a wide range of issues, including the president's recent call to speed up legislation. Meanwhile, President Lee Jae-myung will host Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva later this month. The Blue House announced this morning that the Brazilian president was invited by President Lee for a 3-day state visit from February 22nd. They will hold a summit on the 23rd to discuss cooperation on trade, energy, and the defense industry. It will be followed by signing of MOUs and state dinner. Lula da Silva last visited Korea in 2005 for a state visit. Ahead of the Lunar New Year holiday next week, President Lee also visited a local food bank to see how some of the local residents there are doing. The issue of people's livelihood is expected to top his agenda this week. Our Yoon Jung-min reports.
The first couple have hit the road to see what life is like for some people ahead of the major holiday next week. President Lee Jae-myung and First Lady Kim Hae-young were at a local food bank located in the country's Chungcheongbuk-do province on Wednesday.
하루에 91명이 온다는 거예요? 접수를 맞습니다.
So-called food giveaway corners, funded by the government and private firms, provide free food or essential items to anyone who visits. More than 100 such centers are in operation across the nation, and President Lee has been calling for the need to expand the program.
공짜로 주니까 아무나 와서 막 집어가지 않냐 이런 의심을 하는데 실제로 내가 알기로는 거의 없거든요. 네, 맞습니다.
The president and the first lady also stopped by a traditional market in the region to check food prices, as well as a rehabilitation center for disabled people. With the Lunar New Year holiday approaching, Lee also visited a traditional market near the Blue House on Monday. Top office officials say that livelihoods will be at the center of the president's focus this week. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
The National Assembly has wrapped up the last session of questioning government officials. Heated debate continued between the rival parties on social issues. Our political correspondent An Sung-jin tells us more.
3 intense days of government questioning sessions ended on Wednesday. On Monday, lawmakers focused on politics, diplomacy, unification, and national security, which was followed by a session on the economy on Tuesday. Wednesday's session centered on culture, society, and education with Prime Minister Kim Min-seok and government officials including the Education Minister, Justice Minister, and Culture Minister present. The ruling Democratic Party used the last round of government questioning to underscore the need for regional administration integration, which is currently being pushed under the Lee Jae-myung administration, and as the plausibility of the plan before the June 3rd local elections.
Unless the relevant legislation passes the National Assembly by the end of February, the merger of metropolitan governments would be virtually impossible to be completed.
I urge the PPP lawmakers to take an active part by cooperating for balanced national development rather than for partisan interests or political advantage.
Meanwhile, the main opposition People Power Party questioned the current administration's real estate policy, asking whether reconstruction or redevelopment have become taboo words as it criticizes the current housing supply measures. Lawmakers also pressed the government over rising house prices and a weak Korean won.
I believe the economy's fundamentals remain the same, though I'd like to understand why the exchange rate against the dollar has gone up by more than 100 Korean won after the new administration.
It cannot be seen as a problem of fundamentals, nor an issue from foreign exchange reserves or external debt. Though views differ on an appropriate exchange rate, we are doing our utmost to ensure it does not exceed a reasonable level.
The three-day government questioning session wrapped up with rival parties clashing over a wide range of issues. With a little over 2 weeks left till the end of February's extraordinary session, the National Assembly will now work on the passage of both contentious and non-contentious bills through plenary sessions. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
And the National Assembly has officially launched a special committee to review the so-called Special Act on Investment in the United States, moving into full-scale deliberations on the bill. The committee is holding its first plenary meeting on Thursday, with briefings from relevant government ministries. Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Gwangju and Trade Minister Kim Jong-kwan are expected to attend. Lawmakers aim to pass the bill before March 9th, the committee's deadline. The ruling and opposition parties agreed to form the committee earlier this month after U.S. President Donald Trump warned he could raise tariffs on South Korea, citing delays in Korean legislation. The bill was first proposed in November last year, following a deal tied to a bilateral tariff agreement between Seoul and Washington. And South Korea's foreign ministry has created a special unit to handle negotiations on nuclear-powered submarines with the U.S., expected in the coming weeks. Diplomatic sources said that the ministry recently established a nuclear-powered submarine negotiation team under its North American Affairs Bureau. The team is led by a secretary-level official and includes 2 additional members. They're expected to coordinate with a task force led by the Ministry of National Defense and serve as Seoul's main consultation channel with Washington on the submarine initiative. The U.S. delegation is expected to arrive as early as late February to discuss security cooperation under the bilateral joint fact sheet, which also includes nuclear energy cooperation and shipbuilding. The U.S. labor market shows stronger than expected hiring in January, but deeper weaknesses under the surface are causing concerns. Our Oh Soo-young tells us more.
U.S. job growth unexpectedly picked up in January, easing immediate concerns of a sharp labour market slowdown, but experts warn of a long-term fragility. On Wednesday, the U.S. Bureau of Labour Statistics reported that employers added 130,000 jobs in January, far above market expectations, with major gains in healthcare. The unemployment rate ticked down 0.1 percentage points to 4.3%, while wage growth held up, with average hourly earnings rising about 0.4% in January. Yet the broader picture on jobs is less rosy. Annual benchmark revisions show that total job growth last year was dramatically slower than previously estimated, slashed from around 584,000 jobs to just 181,000. This means average monthly job growth was roughly 15,000 jobs, with employment gains concentrated heavily in healthcare and with minor gains in the retail and utility sectors. Meanwhile, job losses were recorded in financial services, transportation, mining and logging industries. Economists warn that the headline gains could be masking deeper weaknesses in the labour market, as broader losses in pay and income point to uneven growth.
Both of those metrics showed a spike in the second half of January. For the lost pay and income one, we'd actually seen this upward trend begin in late 2025. But what changed in 2026 is that it spread from more just the lower income group who were more isolated and kind of experiencing tougher economic conditions. It spread to hit the high income group. And that's kind of ringing alarm bells for me because of what we've seen with the K-shaped economy and because of how important that group has been for driving overall economic growth.
With hiring slowing and unemployment stable, many analysts believe the US job market is entering a period of stagnation. Experts say the January report is likely to influence Federal Reserve expectations, likely adding to policymakers' reluctance to cut interest rates soon as they continue to monitor inflation. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Russia says it'll block any new UN sanctions on North Korea. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov told lawmakers on Wednesday that Moscow will ensure no additional sanctions resolutions past the UN Security Council. He said Russia and China, both permanent council members, would work together to stop further penalties on Pyongyang. At the same time, Lavrov called it unrealistic to expect a resolution that would lift existing sanctions. Lavrov also questioned calls for North Korea's denuclearization, saying such discussions are inappropriate, while the United States, South Korea, and Japan expand military cooperation, including nuclear-related activities. He argued that demanding denuclearization under these conditions would be unfair to North Korea. And over in Canada, police say an 18-year-old trans woman carried out a deadly school shooting in British Columbia on Tuesday, killing 9 people. Authorities say the suspect had a history of mental health issues as the country mourns one of the worst school tragedies in its history. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
Canadian authorities are revealing new details about one of the deadliest school shootings in the country's history. Police say the attacker in Tuesday's massacre in Tumbler Ridge, a remote community in British Columbia, was an 18-year-old transgender woman with a history of mental health struggles. However, investigators have not identified a clear motive, adding that the suspect, Jessie Van Rooselaar, died by suicide after the attack. Officials also revised the death toll to 9, down from the initially reported 10. According to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police on Wednesday, officers had responded to the suspect's family home multiple times over the years over mental health-related concerns.
Police had attended that residence on multiple occasions over the past several years, dealing with concerns of mental health with respect to our suspect. I can say that on different occasions, a suspect was apprehended for assessment and follow-up.
Authorities believe Van Rooselaar began the deadly shooting spree at home, where the bodies of the suspect's 39-year-old mother and 11-year-old stepbrother were found. Police say the shooter then went to a local school and opened fire. A 39-year-old female teacher was killed, along with 5 students, 3 12-year-old girls, and 2 boys aged 12 and 13. The small community has been left in shock as families mourn and officials provide counseling and support services. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung offered condolences to the victims' families and to the Canadian people, saying he hopes the nation can heal and return to daily life. He also expressed support for Canada's leadership as the country grieves. Authorities say the investigation is continuing as they work to piece together the timeline and circumstances behind the attack. Meanwhile, Tumbler Ridge is holding vigils to honor the victims and support those affected by the tragedy. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
And ahead of the Lunar New Year holiday here in South Korea, the southwestern city of Gwangju hosted a meeting with ethnic Koreans from Central Asia, also known as Koryoin, and highlighted that returning overseas Koreans should be recognized as members of the Korean nation who share historical roots and identity. Our Cho Young-eun reports. To mark Seollal, the Korean Lunar New Year, the Koryoin village in Gwangju came alive with celebration and warmth. Children gathered to receive food packages, which included items like rice and agricultural products.
Now home to more than 4,000 ethnic Koreans from Central Asia and descendants of Korean independence activists from the former Soviet Union, the village has also welcomed ethnic Korean refugees who fled Ukraine following Russia's invasion in 2022. Following an earlier meeting in Incheon, the Overseas Koreans Agency met with community members in Gwangju Koryoin village on Wednesday to hear about their experiences and connect them to policy improvements. Key issues raised included residency status, housing and living costs, children's education and language adaptation, and access to stable jobs. Officials emphasized that returning overseas Koreans should not be seen as foreign laborers or outsiders, but as members of one Korean nation who share historical roots and identity.
The answers are in the field. Through today's site visit and dialogue with the community, we are closely identifying the difficulties they face in their daily lives and reflecting those voices in our policymaking process.
Through on-site engagement, the government reaffirmed its pledge to provide institutional support and equal opportunities based on non-discriminatory inclusion. During the event, officials also met with residents in key community facilities, including the Comprehensive Support Center and the Tamoa Children's Park. They connected with the community through cultural exchanges, trying on traditional costumes and visiting the Koryoin Culture Center. These efforts are expected to help build a more inclusive society, enabling returning overseas Koreans to build their lives with stability in Korea. 조영은, Arirang News, Gwangju.
Hello and welcome. I am your AI sports correspondent Arirang. This section features AI-generated content and scripts, bringing you the latest news from the Olympic Winter Games Milano Cortina 2026. Here are our top stories. South Korean teenagers Tae-ga-on and Lee Tae-woon both secured spots in the snowboard half-pipe finals on Wednesday at Livingno Snow Park. In the women's event, 17-year-old Tae-ga-on scored 82.25 points in her first run to finish 6th among 24 boarders. She remains a podium contender, alongside American Chloe Kim, who led the field with 90.25 points. In the men's qualification, 19-year-old Lee Tae-woon scored 82.00 points to finish 9th, securing his place in Friday's 12-man final. Both athletes will have 3 runs in their respective finals to determine the medal standings. South Korea's Gu Kyung-min finished 10th in the men's 1,000-meter speed skating final on Wednesday at the Milano Speed Skating Stadium. The 21-year-old Olympic debutant finished the race in 1 minute, 8.53 seconds, finishing 2.25 seconds behind the winner. American Jordan Stolz won the gold medal with a new Olympic record of 1 minute, 6.28 seconds. Gu stated after the race that he executed his plan well despite the high stakes. He now shifts his focus to the 500-meter sprint on Saturday. Swiss alpine skier Franjo van Almen won the men's Super G on Wednesday, claiming his 3rd gold medal of the Games. The 24-year-old beat American Ryan Cochran-Siegel by 0.13 seconds. This victory makes van Almen the first male alpine skier since 1968 to win 3 gold medals in a single Winter Olympics. He joins legends Jean-Claude Kelly and Tony Saylor as the only men to achieve this feat. Van Almen decided not to compete in the giant slalom, ending his Olympic campaign with 3 titles. Norwegian biathlete Sturla Holmil apologized on Wednesday for overshadowing teammate Johan Olav Bone's gold medal victory with a live television confession regarding his personal life. The apology follows a Tuesday broadcast where Grade, after winning bronze, revealed on camera that he had been unfaithful to his partner. Grade stated on Wednesday that Bond deserved the full attention of the media and admitted he was not thinking clearly when he shared the story. Meanwhile, Grade's ex-girlfriend told local media that the public declaration was painful and difficult to endure. Before we head out, let's look ahead. Appearing now on your screen are the current medal standings and the upcoming schedule for the Olympic Winter Games Milano Cortina 2026.
As temperatures rise, the fine dust level has risen as well. Ultra-fine dust advisories are in place for the capital area and Chungcheongnam-do province, so make sure to keep a face mask handy. Skies will be mostly clear nationwide, but the eastern regions remain very dry. Extra care is needed to prevent wildfires. Well, it was a colder start than yesterday, but highs will rise 1 to 4 degrees Celsius higher than yesterday. Seoul will be getting up to 9 degrees Celsius. Daegu, Jeju both topping out at 12 degrees. Rain or snow is expected on Jeju this weekend and in the east of Gwangju province next Monday. Then no severe cold is forecast during the Lunar New Year holiday.
That's all we have for today's noon edition of Arirang News. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Stay tuned.